Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy. I'm Eli's mom. I think that TikTok knows me as Eli's mom. Just a few of you guys know me, not very many, and that's fine by me. I'm just here. I'm in my laundry room, putting away laundry late at night on the night before Thanksgiving, and I'm just sitting here thinking about this whole Bobby Rizz thing and how it seems like TikTok doesn't believe Eli or me about all the drama that has happened. So I thought, I might as well just give it one final shot to lay it all out there and tell you what really happened and give you the proof that everyone's been asking for. So I present to you a story called The Rise and Fall of Bobby Rizz. All right, for this story, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to do my very best to just give you the answers, give you the evidence, and not draw this out because I know if I take too long, you're not going to watch it all. So here we go. How it all started. School started on August the 25th for us. This started with two high school boys in a class together. They knew each other vaguely, but didn't really know each other that well. They had class together, and within 3 days of school starting, my son Eli came home and said, "Mom, I got to start this TikTok account. I need access," because I had him on parent restrictions. So he convinced me. He showed me what he was going to do. He had a name for it. It was actually a different name than the name that he ended up with, but he had a name for it, and he created it. So I was like, hey, you're just having fun. Go for it. So these two boys started filming. Eli created the account. Eli ran the account. As it grew, obviously everybody knows it grew quickly. Eli filmed it, posted it. There was a little bit editing, but not much. I mean, we all know it wasn't that great, but it was fun. It was great. So they started doing that, and that's how Bobby Rizz 6'7" started. All right, next page, the climb. So obviously within 3 days, this thing started going crazy. On the third day, it went from hundreds of likes to thousands of likes. And then within the fourth and fifth day, we were at hundreds of thousands of likes, and it spiraled in an upward way very, very quickly. We all know that. We've had multiple experts tell us, all of us, this thing went crazy fast and unprecedented growth. 2.6 million followers in less than 2 months. It was like a little over a month and a half. It was crazy. All right, next page. Pinky and the Brain Enterprises. After this thing went crazy, we started working with an agency called Night Media, and they said, hey, you guys got to get an LLC. And when I say we started working with an agency, I thought that we were all working together with an agency, but I think now I realize Danielle and Chase, which is Bobby, they were working with an agency. They had signed with an agent. We were not a part of that contract. Eli and I were not a part of that contract. But basically they said, hey, you guys got to get an LLC. You guys got to get that done. So one part of getting an LLC was we had to go through a joint attorney, and we had to go through an accountant. And I worked hard to get all those things done. There was a lot of meetings and Zoom meetings and Google Meets and calls and emails, and it was a lot to just kind of get it all going. And the very final thing that had to be done to create the LLC was it had to be named. And the attorney said, hey, don't make it anything to do with Chase or Eli. Don't make it anything to do with TikTok. Just make it some random name that nobody really is going to associate with you guys. So I didn't really care what it was, but apparently Chase's parents had a great idea, and they just said, hey, let's name it Pinky and the Brain. And everybody, if you don't already know what that is, you should definitely look that up on YouTube. That's some good stuff. So they said that because they said Eli was the brain and Chase was Pinky. That was their words. That was their determination. And it was kind of catchy, so we went with it. Pinky and Brain Enterprises, LLC. So after we got Pinky and the Brain Enterprises LLC finalized, our next step was an operating agreement. I have never heard of an operating agreement. I have never started my own business. So I did not understand it, but I looked into it. I found out. So the operating agreement was intended to basically solidify the terms of the partnership. We never actually got to finish the operating agreement, but we did have a draft, and I have it here if you guys want to see it. I can always like stick it into a Google Drive or something like that, but I'm going to show you there on the screen. You might want to pause and read through it real quick. I'll give you time to do that real quick. This will be a good time to pause. All right. Now that you've paused, the operating agreement there, that part that you're looking at, talks about a deadlock resolution. And the purpose of that was we had to have that. Some people do a simple thing like flipping a quarter, or, maybe some other type of arbitrary way to resolve whenever they can't make a decision. This is like if two people, there's 4 people in the company. So Danielle, Chase, myself, and Eli. Maybe if 2 people wanted to do A and 2 people wanted to do B, you need to have a way to resolve that. So that's because we were all supposed to be equal partners in this business. So in this deadlock resolution, my husband had the idea to say, what about there's like a possession rule, sort of like basketball. So like we'll start off with Chase and his family, they have possession. And that means whenever there's an issue or a situation that they don't agree on, or we can't all come to an agreement, it says here, like after 10 business days, that we would go with the extra vote possession rule, meaning they would have the extra vote. And then once they use it, then the vote is back in our court. So then, next time something comes up and we can't agree, then we give it 10 business days, and we could use that extra vote possession rule if we wanted to. We felt like that was really fair. It was less arbitrary. It was less risky than like flipping a coin, but it also gave everyone equal power. And that's what we were so focused on. My family, we were so focused on everyone should have equal power in this. We were all joint partners working together. And the other part of this business operating agreement was 65-35. 65% of the revenue would go to Chase and his family. 35% would go to Eli. It's very important that you know there was absolutely zero revenue at this point. And overall, the amount of revenue that was ever reportedly finalized is minuscule, actually, if you'll think about it. Because these boys are under 18, Eli created the account with his honest nature and put his real age. So there was no money to be made. Absolutely no money to be made. No money rolling in at all. Everybody thinks that there was, but there wasn't. So anyways, so this operating agreement was all something that we all agreed on. We worked hours. We spent time together. We spent time on FaceTime. We spent time on Zooms, creating this operating agreement to finalize all these terms. There's a lot of aspects to an operating agreement, and I won't bore you with them because some of them are silly and some of them are just definitions and talk about annual meetings and things like that. But the main points, that the biggest important points, were 65% revenue to Chase, 35% revenue to Eli, and 50-50 decision making. Those were the big meat and potatoes of the agreement. All right, we're about halfway through our story. I'm trying to pick up the speed for you, but it's getting a little dicey here. What you're looking at now, page 6, is the agreement was never signed. I tried really hard to get this agreement signed. I wanted to get this done. We had put so much time and work into it, and it just didn't happen. You'll see the little chart that looks like this. That shows member units. Danielle and Chase each had 32.5% member units. Eli and I both had 17.5% member units. That means 32.5 and 32.5 equals 65%. And then 17.5 and 17.5 equals 35%. And then you'll see on the right-hand side there, the voting units. Every member had 25% voting units, meaning we all had equal power, equal authority, equal decision-making. This operating agreement like I said, was never signed. On October the 6th, I believe, the attorney sent it to us like, this is the draft. Like, we've got it. And we agreed. We all looked at it. We texted. I have text messages between myself and Danielle saying, yeah, it looks good to me. I think there was like a couple of typos and like a couple of little tiny things, like we just need to clarify. And they did that, and they had it back to us on, I think, October the 9th. Let me look at my notes. And so then October 13th rolls around, and they still haven't sent it to us. October 14th rolls around, they still haven't sent it for us to sign. October 15th, I started to get a little suspicious. October the 15th is when I started to get suspicious. I emailed our joint attorney. Our joint attorney had originally said, I'm working for the company. I will never talk to either one of the parties without the other party there, because that would be unethical, and that would be probably very illegal. And so I absolutely respected that. I never even attempted. I didn't need to, because we already had this operating agreement going. So when any type of correspondence was, copy all on the emails. You email and then you reply all so that everyone sees it. And so when I still hadn't had an operating agreement to sign on October the 15th, and we had scheduled to leave for Florida for collaboration on October the 16th, I started to get a little anxious, because I'd already put a lot of money down on equipment, necessities. Eli has been driving, picking up Chase, taking him here and there for filming. Just literally lots of efforts on our part. I had already put money down for Airbnb to stay in Florida. When we went to Florida to see AJ and Big Justice and film with them, they graciously provided $3,000 for our families to come and collaborate with them. And that was not a payment. That was like a help you get down here type of thing. The flights alone costed more than $3,000, because we had 7 people flying, and we flew out of the Lexington airport because Bobby's family, Chase's family, had never flown, and they were extremely anxious about flying. And so we decided to fly out of Lexington because it would be less chaotic. It was a little bit more costly than Louisville. And so we flew, and basically the flights alone were less than $3,000. I picked up the rest. My husband and I picked up the rest. It was a couple $100. We also picked up the rental car and the Airbnb, which turns out that it was a little cheaper to just do an Airbnb instead of 2 hotel rooms for 4 nights. The Airbnb ended up being a little bit cheaper. Still very comparable. I mean, thousands of dollars, literally. I can tally it all up and get you the receipts if you want, but I'm kind of over it. And now I just got to work hard and pay these bills. So that's where I'm at with this. The agreement was never signed. We asked for it before the trip to Florida, and we were told that they're still working on some of the details, and they will get with us after we get back from Florida. What I now know is Danielle had already contacted the attorneys before we went to Florida and said, hey, I got some things I want to add to this agreement. Don't send it to us yet. And of course, that was very, very illegal, because those attorneys are not supposed to talk to us alone without each other. She claimed to me that they gave her legal advice. That's definitely not something that they're supposed to do. The attorney's office is Green Room Legal, in case you want to look them up. Not really pleased with them. I'm not real pleased at all. So what can I do? They are who they are. They did what they did. It is what it is. Moving on to page 7. The turning point. After we get back from Florida, after we've had a great time filming, we have put up money to provide this experience, to make this happen as an investment. I saw this as an investment. This is something that both of our boys were doing. It was going great. They were making progress on possibly getting some brand deals. They may have already done the tone deal by then. I can't remember the timing. They did. They did the tone deal before then. So the tone deal gave them $5,000. I still haven't seen any money from that. Eli's not seen any money from that. But it was supposed to be $5,000 for everyone. Night Media says the check is in the mail. They said that 10 days ago. I don't think it's coming, to be real honest. If it did come, it would be $5,000. The first 20% would go to Night Media, so that's like $1,000. So then $4,000. So Eli would get 35% of $4,000 if he would ever get it, which I don't think is going to happen. Anyways, the turning point was right after we got back from Florida. The next day, Danielle texts me and says, "Hey, we need to talk." And I was like, okay, that's a unique text to get. So that night we talked, and they had a little list of things that they wanted to talk to us about, things that they might wanted to consider. They didn't show us a list. They didn't give us anything in writing. They just tried to explain it. Basically, they were concerned that if Eli ever quit filming or didn't want to be involved anymore, then they would be stuck in this contract to pay him 35% ongoing. And so I listened to their concerns, and I said, I really want to see what you have in mind in writing. And fast forward, that was on that Monday. So then it took until that Wednesday, October the 22nd, to actually get the list. I don't know why it took so long, but it took that long. So finally I get the list, and that's what you're looking at now. You probably want to pause and read that. Zoom in, pause, screenshot, whatever you need to do. So the new terms that they wanted to add, obviously you can see them right there. I've highlighted the ones that are absolutely insane and would never be considered by us, by the Chesser family, by Eli, by myself. First, they wanted all tiebreaker voting rights. That means they get to run the show completely, and we just have to do what they say. And we were, at this point, we're already working for them. We were literally, Eli was running the TikTok account. I was running the Instagram and the YouTube, which YouTube we struggled, but we finally made a little bit of progress. Danielle had started the Facebook account. It was going nowhere fast. But yeah, we were doing so much, literally hours each day of posting. I learned real fast. It took me a little bit longer than it should have. Can't police these comments because there were so many comments coming in that I couldn't continue to try to delete and block. I mean, there was some really, Instagram especially had some bad comments. And I was trying to defend Chase by deleting some of the ones that were really derogatory. But anyways, I learned real fast I just couldn't keep up. So we were already working for them, and they wanted basically to have all tiebreaker voting rights, meaning we have no say. So that's not an option for us. The next one was they reserve the right to fire Eli. He created it. He owns the TikTok account, but they think they can fire him from it and then not pay him his 35%. Not going to happen. They reserve, Chase has all final say in personnel. Again, not going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. I'm not putting the trust of a 14-year-old. I'm not putting a 14-year-old in charge of personnel decisions for a company. It's just not going to happen. I don't care if he's the most responsible, perfect 14-year-old in the world. It's not responsible on our parts as adults to do that. And I think that they put that in there probably just because they wanted to be able to say, Eli, Chase is firing you. As Eli has discussed in the podcast, the LOL podcast, I'm sure some of you have seen it. The week before we went to Florida, Chase started saying, I'm going to fire you when we get back from Florida. And that's exactly what they tried to do. They said Eli couldn't post anything about Bobby Rizz on his personal page. Again, Eli created Bobby Rizz. Eli created the account. He created the character. He directed it. He scripted it. I know it wasn't anything complicated, but all the ideas were literally flowing through his brain, and he was doing it. So you got to give him some credit, right? But yet he can't post anything on his personal page about it because that might steal a little bit of attention away from Bobby Rizz. And the thing is, I think what they don't realize is TikTok is big enough for all of them. TikTok is huge. Everybody can be a creator if they want to. So that was a no-go on our part. And then there was Eli cannot film for his own personal content during collaborations or company trips. Well, Yeah, Eli did a little bit of filming for his own personal page while we were in Florida. And if you remember, we paid for that. So, in my opinion, he can film whatever he wants as long as it's appropriate. So, yeah, that was the terms that we were provided on October the 22nd. That was the turning point. That was when I realized this is going nowhere fast, and this is going to be ugly. All right, that brings us to the next page, negotiations. I will tell you right now, I responded very angrily. I was extremely offended. Just like Eli said on the LOL podcast, whenever there was some information discussed about a threat to me, he said, not my mom. And I thought in my head, not my kid. You are not going to take my child's work, intellectual property, and all his hours of effort and I guess creative skill. You're not going to take that away from him. That's not going to happen. So absolutely, I responded very angrily, and I talked to the attorney, one of the attorneys on the phone, after I had already found out that they'd been talking to him privately. I might as well do the same. So I called him and I said, this is not going to happen. This is not appropriate. This is not acceptable. There's nothing about these terms that are provided that are going to work. And this deal is done. We're not going to do it. He said, well, we need to work together. We need to work together. And I said, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do it. And he tried to convince me, we need to try to get it together. And I said, I tell you what, if you really wanted to get it together, you go back and you tell them everywhere on this little email that you've provided, everywhere it says Chase, you just mark that out and you write Eli. And where it says Eli, you mark that out and you write Chase. That's how I felt about it. I was going to turn the tables. I was done. I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't care. If they don't do Bobby Rizz, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So they broke my trust. They went behind my back. And after you break my trust, it's over. I'm not going to continue. So that said, then I said, hey, you know what? Instead of saying 65-35, you just go and tell them 75-25. That'll show them how stupid this offer was from them, that these terms. You just tell them 75-25. In reality, did I think that they were going to take 75-25? Absolutely not. I didn't want them to. I prayed they wouldn't. I was done working with them. I absolutely said, this is over. So in my mind, that was it. And I wish I could say that's the end. But as we all know, it's not the end. Even though I wanted it to be the end, obviously it wasn't. Some of you all may not even know the next things that happened. But first, the next things that happened were within 2 days after they realized that we're not going to give in, we're not communicating, we're done with this conversation. They decided to retaliate. So on October the 24th, I was working at my job and I had an interaction with Chase. He was going around telling some students that I stole the Bobby Rizz account and that I won't give it back. And they need to tell me that I should give it back. So I'm approached and bombarded by hundreds of fifth graders during this event that I was at, saying, you need to give it back. You took it. Why'd you take it? He said you took it. So I approached him and I said to him, I took nothing that belongs to you, and you need to stop telling these kids that I did. That's literally the words that came out of my mouth, because those were the words that I was telling the students before I talked to him. So from that conversation, his parents decided that I had threatened him. They contacted the police. They filed a police report, which I have right here. And I have basically the police report says, it actually wasn't even a report. They called it a call response. And it says on here, there were no threats and no cussing from both parties. I took the statements to the county attorney. He said it was a civil matter and he would reach out to the parties. They didn't even make it as a report. They didn't investigate. When that didn't work, they decided to report me to my employer. So they filed a complaint. It was investigated and unsubstantiated. So again, I wish I could say that was the end, but it's not the end. Next page, the threat. This is what Eli talked about during the LOL podcast. On October the 28th, after work, I got home and I got a Facebook Messenger message. Ding! I looked at it immediately because I do like to look at my messages when they come in. You can read it right there. This would be a great time to pause and screenshot and read through that message real quick. That message is quite concerning, absolutely. If you were to see that message directed to you, I think that you would be concerned. So I had to do the responsible thing. I had to take it to the sheriff's office, and as you can see from that newspaper clipping, that person that sent that message was arrested, and they just had to pay a bail and get out. So it's not like I was actually protected in that matter. But they have I think that's probated or something. You can read that. Like I said, it's not like it was actually something that the legal system actually took care of. They just did the minimum that they have to do, and he's still out, and who knows what he's doing or if he's trying to find me or not. I'm not that hard to find, obviously. So yeah, it is what it is. We've upped our security. That's all we can do. All right, just to recap, this is where we're almost to the end, but we're at the last final offer that we tried to provide. After having been threatened, after having been lied to and gone behind my back to change terms of the agreement that we had already agreed upon, after I had invested thousands of dollars, after all that, I absolutely was finished, of course. But I was sick and tired of this account. I didn't want it. Eli didn't want it. We were tired of dealing with it. And we just said, you know what? Let's just see if they'll take it for 90-10, basically. And that means Eli would get 10% royalty, meaning he's not going to do the work anymore. I'm not going to do the work anymore. You all take it and you can go with it and do whatever you want. If you want to make it succeed, make it succeed. If you make it flop, you make it flop. If there's ever any money involved, which at this point we still haven't got any money. If there's ever any money involved, then Eli would get 10% royalty for 3 years, and then after that, absolutely $0. As you can see, they declined. I don't know why. I don't really care, to be honest. It's not my concern. If they don't want it, they don't want it. All right, if you've stuck with me this long, we're at the final page. We are at the end. That's what I mean is, after I post this video, I'm done with this story. I'm done with this information. I don't want this drama to continue. I feel like everyone is wanting all this evidence, so I'm providing it. I've got your screenshots. You can take these screenshots and do whatever you want to with them. But after this, I'm putting this to bed, literally, and I'm done. If you still don't believe the truth, then you're just greatly deceived, and there's really nothing that I can do for you. I would say if you have questions, ask me, but I feel like I've outlined it pretty well. If you really, truly have to have all the nitty-gritty details in every page of the contract, the operating agreement, I'll put it in a Google Drive if you really want it. But like I said, after that, this story is over. So that concludes the story of the rise and fall of Bobby Rizz. I hope y'all have a great night. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I hope that these boys, both of them, go on to succeed and enjoy life in whatever capacity they have, whatever they want. I hope they get it. And I have no ill will towards Chase, aka Bobby. And I just hope that they both have learned a lot of lessons and that they're able to just move on and grow from it. And I hope that the internet world, TikTok world, can just lay off now, because now you know that I really didn't hold anything hostage. And now you know that there was no ransom. If there's evidence out there that I haven't seen, then I'd love to see it. But again, I'm done with these conversations. I hope y'all have a great night. And let's hope that 2026 is a little bit more calm, at least for us. Thank you all.